Hi everyone, welcome to your Child Development 10 course. This is Child, Family, and Community, and I will be your instructor, Laura Velasquez. Going over the agenda, we will be talking about culture. So most importantly, what culture is and what ethnicity is, and cultural diversity. So cultural diversity. So what is cultural diversity? Well, cultural diversity is influenced by our ethnicities, our beliefs, traditions, and the nation, right? Who we are. So in order to understand cultural diversity, one must be open-minded. So one must be aware of their cultural attitudes, behaviors, and responses to all other cultural values. So, for example, being able to know how long has a child been in the country, right? If you're working in a classroom with different children, with young children especially, are they first, second, or third generation students? What are the languages spoken at home? Can an educator support the students? If so, how? In order to create a strong and a healthy relationship with the children, educators should be aware of their students' cultural beliefs and values and history in order to build what I like to call a two-way love tunnel, right? So we can do like a dance, so we can help each other out and make sure that these children are being as successful as they possibly can in our classroom. So cultural self-reflection. This is taken from Family Partnerships on Culture. A great quote here. The process of cultural self reflection involves knowing one's identity and the cultural community where one developed and learned as a child. It likewise involves awareness of one's own cultural background, including examining how personal principles and beliefs may influence one's approach to working with children and their families. For example, staff members should identify and reflect deeply in their own culture-based assumptions about important aspects of life, such as morality, nutrition, gender roles, childcare, parent-child relations, appropriate displays of emotions, intimacy, family loyalty, and discipline. And this is for anyone who's really working with children, not just in the classroom. So cultural competence. What is cultural competence? We'll go over what cultural incompetence is and what cultural competent is. So cultural incompetence, an example is lacks cultural awareness and thinks there is only one way of doing things. Okay, so meeting in the middle, sees all the same people and thinks everyone should be treated the same. Now, someone who's culturally competent actively seeks knowledge about other cultures, educates others about cultural differences. So they're kind of advocating for different cultures, right? So cultural competence is the ability to relate and understand different cultures. So some ways that staff can support each other is by building knowledge of one's culture and being in touch with your own cultural and self-examination to be aware, right? So reflecting on one cultural background, self-identity, and cultural understanding. Some strategies for self-reflection are, for example, building your own family tree or creating a cultural journal to get in touch with yourself and to know a little bit more of where you come from and who you are. This is a great resource for you to look up, the NAYC. So just go to the NAYC.org and you'll be able to get some more information. So the NAYC is the National Association for Education of Young Children. They're an organization who promotes high quality learning by connecting practice, policy, and research. What is culture? So culture is what makes us who we are, right? So culture involves all of these here. So rituals, rules, practices, friends, nutrition, emotional expression, and social interactions. And there are many more. So you think of some of these examples so that you can work on the following discussion. So on your chat box, I just want you to type in a few words that you think fall under the larger cultural umbrella. So for example, somebody who is impacted by the law under the cultural umbrella, if there is a child who is, for example, dealing with a parent who is struggling with immigration status and they are struggling with deportation issues, how do you think this might impact the child's ability to learn in the classroom, right? Or economy, what if there are children who are not getting enough warmth, if their house is too cold, or if they don't have a meal every night before they go to bed? How do you think this impacts their development? Just start throwing in words in the chat box, and then I want you to think of some of these words because you're going to use some of these words in to reference to your assignment. So for your assignment, you're going to go into the discussion forum and just create your own cultural umbrella so that I can have a better understanding of who you are. And I will share my own cultural umbrella on the modules. Why is culture important? Well, it's important because it helps us understand cultures, right? And ethnicities. And it also helps us, it prevents us from overgeneralizing, right? So teachers are equal partners or either higher authority. This is a really important highlight here because I was raised to treat teachers as higher authority, but there are other cultures who treat them as equal partners. And that was something very difficult for me to understand. So those are some of the things that we need to take into consideration when we're talking about culture, because we're all very different and we're raised very different, right? So ethnicity and culture. Ethnicity refers to a group's identity, and it refers to a common ancestry, your history, right? And the shared language. Culture is different. Culture goes into a whole other different soup, I like to call it. So it goes into gender rules, for example, friendship circles, family structure, your identity, right? What importance does your gender identity have? Who do you affiliate with, right? Who do you have loyalty to? These are some videos that I'll be posting on your module so that you have a better understanding of what culture and ethnicity are. And this is a quote here that I will be sharing as well on the discussion board so that we can go over together. This is pulled out from the Family Partnerships and Culture book. So how to support development of the home language. Parents fear that the home language will get lost, and that is very common. It was a personal experience of mine. Educators should notify parents that their language is acknowledged and that children have the ability to become competent bilinguals, right? We want to incorporate and we want to praise both languages in the classroom, or if they have triple languages, right? The playground language and the economic language are two very important different languages to understand. Playground language is something that a child will how they communicate with their peers, right? Or how they communicate with the teacher versus how they communicate with their parents right at home. They communicate very differently. But this is also how they will be able to create the development, right? And support the development. Children experience from different types of interactions with children and peers. So every interaction is very important um, for their development. Understanding contemporary families. So family composition, this is what makes a child so unique and so special, where they come from, right? So a lot of children may come from different, a single adult family household, adopted or blended families, foster families, same-sex couples. On the next slide, there is a video I will be posting on your module for Modern Family, a very good example of a same-sex couple and the roles that each partner takes, which is very important to know as educators. Now, culturally based family strengths, they all have their own strengths, right? Resilience, this is the ability to bounce back from stressful situations. There is a resilience quiz at the bottom right. There, you go to the resiliencequiz.com website and you are free to go and explore that quiz and see where you are with your resiliency, see where you stand. Family stressors. So some of the family stressors can come from family safety, homelessness, right? A lot of children who are homeless are living in foster homes. So, or they're living in shelters. So for example, if you're trying to have an activity in your classroom that is, let's say, pajama day, we need to take into consideration that a lot of these children who are living in shelters don't even own a pair of pajamas. So we need to be as inclusive as we possibly can and being as gentle and take precaution with activities that we're doing in our classroom. Culture, family life, and the early childhood curricula. It's all about relationships. So the first relationship that most children develop after their family is the educators. So it's our relationship. So it is our duty to support the child with developing a sense of belonging and making sure that they are trusting us, making the relationships meaningful, right? Understanding parental strategies. There are 4 different types of parenting strategies, and it's very important to understand them because they will guide us with understanding the children in our classrooms. So authoritarian, my way or the highway. Authoritative, so explains the reasons behind the rules and it gives the child structure. Permissive, parents believe that the child will learn best without interference or consequences. And uninvolved parenting, not enough time spent with the child. So here is a short video that we'll also be posting on our modules. This is a video about empathy, and it is very, very interesting. So I highly recommend that you watch it because it helps us understand who will be in our classroom and why it's important to have empathy versus sympathy. Here are some of the references. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me.